Now we're talking. Look at this. We're back in the world of classic models, and obviously it's come out as the Vintage Classic series. If I remember, we'll get round to that. But this is the Northrop P61 Black Widow by Airfix with a magnificent bit of box art. Look at the almost, I don't want to say monochrome, but look at the limited palette used by the artist. Just shades of brown, tiny bit of browny red. Even the black is itself almost completely made up of browns. Just here and there do we have a full black. That is, I was going to say a work of art. Genius. That is a work of genius. That truly is a fantastic piece of graphic art. I got this when I was a kid, and I got me pocket money every week, and it wasn't enough to go. We don't have the series number now. Was this series 4? Anyway, I think it was something like series 4, and per week I didn't have enough money to go up to series 4. I had never made a model that big before, so I saved up 2 weeks worth of pocket money, and I thought I'd be in trouble, so I sneaked out to the shop down the road that I knew had one of these, because I had that inner drive to get hold of this mighty model. And then I came home and I sneaked home with it, and my mum caught me and she said, "What are you up to?" And I said, "Oh, just bought it." "What, you went all the way down to the shops yourself and you bought it?" And I said, "Yeah, don't tell Dad, I'll be in trouble." She said, "Of course I'll tell him, he'll be so pleased you've done something so grown up." So, this is a landmark in my childhood, this one. And I made it okay, actually. I seem to remember it coming out alright. What I do remember is, because it's twin boom and it's a very particular shape, there comes a point where you've got so many plates spinning, it's unbelievable. And I do remember that the wings didn't... it's hard to get them at the correct angle as they connect with the fuselage, and that stood out in my mind, because when the camera, a long time ago now, was or when the computer was destroying my films, I made one of these and we've lost the whole thing, and now I can't find the model because I put it in a box safely so I'll be able to get it out and talk about it. So one day it will reappear. So this is my third edition of this, but there are some models I could make over and over again, and this is one of them. It's going to be wheels up, I'm afraid, folks. People who don't like the flying ones, but in particular, if the shape is so dynamic or so beautiful. I wouldn't say this was a beautiful aircraft, I would say it is a hyper-dynamic one. If you've got dynamism of an extraordinary level, or beauty, or sleekness, or extraordinary design, then wheels up and let the style steal the show. Anyway, as for Vintage Classics, I've been thinking for years and moaning to me mates, why don't Airfix just put out all their old models, particularly the really great ones, with the old box art? Stop mucking about, stop trying to be flash and modern, because I don't think there's a single modeller on earth who's that bothered about how trendy the box is. What we want is great art, and we've got it. Well done, Airfix, you got there in the end. Took you, what do you reckon, 30 years? Never mind. Slightly disappointed that we've got modern instructions, but that disappointment is offset by the fact that they are big and bold, shall we say. Although once you get inside, obviously they appear to be closer to the original. In fact, very close to the original, to the point where they probably are. But there's not the feel, is there? It's not got that oldie worldy quality that the old Airfix stuff had. as far as I can tell, this is an upgrade of the markings, because there's loads there. You never got that many back in the 60s and 70s. And then, in many respects, thankfully, there's a very, very up-to-date colour scheme and markings. Although, let's face it, with this one it's pretty simple. But with some of the very old Airfix ones that I'm trying to do as is, as they come out of the box and per the instructions, sometimes there's such a lack of information. Noticeable in the Bristol Blenheim, was it? You got almost no information at all, and it was tiny. Mucky bit of wood, hey? Stayed on that too long. Anyway, once you get into the box, lots of up-to-date modern grey plastic. I remember this being black plastic, which I thought was rather dynamic too. So I'll be unwrapping this and spraying it black. You won't be surprised to find. I wonder if that's an updated version of a Rolling Stones song, Spray It Black. Perhaps Banksy will put that out, you never know. Twin booms. You can't beat them, can you? Doing those and getting them nice and solid while other things dry, and then while they dry. Meanwhile, over here, don't usually bother with interior shots because they kind of get lost, really, don't they, in the construction of the thing. But I have to say, this section in particular was the best fit I have ever come across in an interior, and that was the second best. A little bit of wiggling to do on that one. Obviously I've got painting up to do as well, but they'll get tidied up. And it's unfortunate, you see, I do feel a lot of detail is lost inside fuselage when you put the two sides together, which is a shame. But in this one it's quite the reverse, because it's got a very big glass canopy. So, oops, I pressed the wrong button, and now Mrs. Meltdown is in the kitchen with the door open and the tumble dryer going. But anyway, with this one, what was I on about? So it's got a massive broad canopy, so you can see in really rather easily, and there's nothing to show. And as a kid, I used to paint little boxes and panels and things and wiring on the side. I don't know enough about the interior of this one to even hazard a guess, but then I started gluing in the little tabs off sprue, the tabs with the numbers, part numbers on. I used to do that kind of thing, and now it's all reversed and I'm like, yeah, you can't see it, I'm not bothered. But in this one, it is going to be a bit of a loss. But like I say, I don't know enough about the interior of this one to actually make an attempt, but there we go. Oh, I don't know, I could paint a couple of squares on, couldn't I? Just to look at the parts so far, this, I mean, I don't even want to call it fuselage, it's kind of cabin. Marvellous bit of design. It's coming along okay, got to clean up some seams, usual stuff, and I have put some little boxes in. Never mind. Wings, only problem I've had with the wings is that, and I remember that from when I was a kid, it's so, what can you call it, floppy. It's not floppy now. That can't be real, can it? So I wasn't going to have these moving, as I don't tend to do moving parts much. So bit of glue there, and those. And to be quite honest, it's nearly done. I was squeezing the wings in just to see how they fitted. Very, very tight to get in the hole, but they still tilt and rock anyway. So still going to be some slight angling problems, which I remember having as a kid. But anyway, moving on rapidly. There we are, almost done. A few little bits and pieces to go on, and obviously all the glassware, which is big, which will challenge me. But apart from that, it's pretty much there. Not too many problems. The only areas that gave me any trouble at all was joining that, obviously there, and then there's a bit of a seam down there. But they're not too bad actually, they're really small. So as things go, it's alright. The other problem, I think probably the biggest problem, are getting the centre points of the engines to line up properly, because obviously if they're not true, then the propellers will be coming out at all angles, and that won't do. So there it is in its most basic form before the last few bits. I'm going to go and do something very shocking now, because this has been sprayed black, matte black, and then all the gluey bits and all the bits have been cleaned up. Apart from that, have then been given a brushing of matte black, which has given it a lovely, a wonderful texture, which isn't very easy to see at the best of times, particularly on black. But you can just see a bit there that's a bit heavy-handed, but it's where you can see it best. A little bit noticeable there. It's patchy, as would happen. I might just try something else, and I'm not going to say what in case it doesn't work. So off I go. And I found I was doing too much in one go, so lots of things have happened. Marking's gone on, and kind of deeper layer of paint. I think you might just be able to see along here and in a few other places I've actually added a bit of dark, very very dark midnight blue, just to give the black a bit of depth. And I knew I was going way too far when I started doing a bit of weathering around here. So time to stop, have a chat, and then do a few more bits very shortly. So there we go. Oh, and one thing, didn't mean to do it, but it moves. God, moving part, who'd have them? So yeah, great fun. Ah, I've got to do all the glass. Always my dread. Never mind.